ये है टीवी टुडे नेटवर्क और आप देख रहे हैं आज तक सबसे तेज।
Welcome to Chai Chat with Lavina, the issue of JNU, where a few students in a cultural function ended up raising slogans that has divided the country's opinion, has been hogging limelight for a very, very long time. In fact, now it has crossed borders and reached London and many other global universities, considering JNU has very strong ties with a lot of universities abroad as well. London being one. Here in London, when we talk of Kashmir, we are actually at a very advantageous situation for a change, because we can get voices from all parts, from Pakistan, from Kashmir, from Indian people from India, Kashmir, Kashmiri Pandits, Kashmiri Muslims, and that's what I have today, where a seminar took place, and I'm very, very keen to talk to people about this whole issue of Kashmir. JNU and Kashmir, again, it has created such a difficult situation, hogged headlines. What do you think?
I see it points out partly to the failure of democracy, where something very simple as students gathering and expressing their opinion about judicial murder, what they saw as judicial murder of Afzal Guru, leads to this hue and cry where police accuse student union president of none other than student president of sedition, and it's a serious charge. Or Indian media, some of them are declaring and pointing out that one of the organizers, who's a leftist student, as somehow pro-Pakistan and everything. They're destroying his they're being very harmful towards his identity. Now what it points out is that aspect of state becoming more and more intolerant, but we also see, and that's where the hope is, that students mobilizing not only in JNU, but not only in Hyderabad Central University, where Rohit Vemula was killed, but also in other parts where they're refusing to see Indian narrative as the dominant narrative. So we now find Indian students talking about Azadi for Kashmir and Azadi from India for Nagaland and Manipur. So in a sense, Indian government, by being so draconian and right-wing in its policy, has partly led to a reaction where Indians are now seeing, at least progressive Indians are seeing through the rhetoric of Indian government on Kashmir, which is that Kashmir is an integral part of India, everything is good in Kashmir, only terrorists are there. Where more people now realize that Indian government is lying about it, because there are severe human rights abuses and there's a denial of self-determination of Kashmir in Kashmir.
Okay, thank you. Please react to that view.
What I feel is that after hearing all the comments today, I came here today without any opinion, and what I heard was just one side of the story. I am not from Kashmir, but I have friends who are living in Jammu and Kashmir, both Kashmiri Pandits and Muslims, and who would say that we are Indians. So there's not one sentiment, there's not one Kashmiri sentiment which says that no, we want to be Azad. So if you say that fine, let's go for a referendum, and we'll go with a referendum, so even if a 60% of the majority wants Azad Kashmir, what about those 40% who do not want Azad Kashmir, who want to be with India or who want to be with some other country? Do they don't get a voice? Do they don't get a vote? It's not an issue so easily solved.
Okay. And I want you to react on what he said about Indian state getting so intolerant, draconian, to the extent that the statements of Azadi, Kashmir, Azadi, and of the entire thing that has sparked JNU. What do you think about those statements? Freedom of thought or nationalism? Anti-national?
It's funny when people, this word intolerance, it has been flashed so much in media these past few days and weeks and months, even before the JNU incident that happened. I mean, it's really funny. I find India to be one of the most tolerant nations in this world. You go to Pakistan, you go to Korea, you go to China, and you dare talk about freedom, and you dare talk about conflicting views and notions there, and see what happens. And then come to me and tell me what intolerance is. You do not know what intolerance is.
I have been to Pakistan, spoken about Balochistan. I have had no problem in Pakistan. I've been to China, talked about Tibet. There's more sensitivity there. But do you really want to compare India, which is supposed to be democracy, with China, which is authoritarian government? And simple question is, if it is not intolerance, do you think that students should have the peaceful right, so the right to peacefully declare that they feel that Afzal Guru was hanged wrongly, that's what the belief was, or should they be charged with sedition? If you think India is such a tolerant country, why charge of sedition against students who had simply said Azadi Azadi for Kashmir and chanted against the Indian government for hanging Afzal Gurus? If it's so tolerant, why sedition charge?
Okay, why sedition charge?
Response to that. I guess the Constitution allows freedom of expression to every citizen of India, but under limited and restricted conditions. For example, if someone goes out in JNU in a national university and says, भारत की अंत तक जंग रहेगी, हिंदुस्तानी की बर्बादी तक जंग रहेगी, as a nationalist, as a proud Indian, I would never accept the fact that they would say something like that. They're going against India. I think saying something against your own nation just to justify something is absolutely unacceptable. And as far as tolerance is concerned, I think India has been the most peaceful country in the past 10,000 years. We have not attacked any other country. And for example, Pakistan, for example, there was this guy in Pakistan, he was a fan of Virat Kohli, and he had Indian flag just by chance, you know, by mistake, he happened to have the flag with him. He was actually tortured and he was actually jailed, and I think he would actually be even killed. For example, in India, these things do not happen. Until and unless it is, till the time it is within certain limits, we absolutely vouch for freedom of expression. But when it goes against our nationalistic belief, our nationalistic pride, when someone says Hindustan ki barbadi tak jang rahegi, I am sure any proud national of Indian would not accept it. I believe in Amnesty International as well. The headquarters are in London. I've signed a lot of petition for Amnesty International as well. So as a voucher, as a staunch believer of human rights, I understand there has been human rights violation in Kashmir. But it's also important to understand that Kashmir is a vital part of the Indian nation. And I agree to that. I think the nation as a whole agrees to this fact. I mean, the rest of the nation feels that Kashmir is an integral part of India as well. And I understand the human rights violation, and it is definitely wrong. No one's saying don't speak against them. We are inviting people to speak against them. NGOs are working. People from all around the country are going there and working for the betterment of people in Kashmir. So it's not like the entire nation is blind to this issue in Kashmir. It's just that when it goes anti-national against the entire identity of India, we cannot accept it.
Okay, I'll come back to you, Dr. Anand. Okay. But let me just go to this girl here, Farha. Whose parents are from Pakistan, Kashmir, Pakistan. So I would like you to react on both the things. And yeah, go on, first react and then I'll ask.
React to what's being said. I find it really interesting that when we justify an action of a state, we have to look to somewhere else where it's worse. That's why, we're not so bad, because Pakistan does this, China does this. I've heard this story somewhere. The Pandits have suffered too. I'm not denying that there's not torture and human rights abuses in China or in wherever else in the world. I'm not denying that the Pandits haven't suffered too, but I find it a really weird argument to go there to justify a human rights abuse or a ridiculous sedition charge on people just expressing their views. And you're right, freedom of speech does have limits, but the limit is not to just to anti-national, to say I think that Kashmir should be free, is that to have azadi, to say that I think maybe someone was hung wrong, that's seen as the limits. Have you looked at international human rights law that India is, I believe, a signatory to? Interesting.
I want to come react to that in 1 second. But Dr. Kaul, tell me what you think.
About, I can't add more than what this lady has already said from India. I mean, there is a limit to what you can do under grab of free speech. You can't go against the nation. I mean, I gave an example of Sheikh Abdullah. He spoke just about Azadi and he was put under 15 years. Nehru put him in jail, and that was too extreme. But there has to be a limit to what people say. You can't just go. An Indian state, any state has to react. You know, if they can't, it will look like a limp-wristed nation if you don't react to these anti-national forces. You have to show your force at some time. Otherwise, it will be a limp-wristed, spineless nation. Would they do it the same thing in America about maybe Osama bin Laden? They would have put FBI would have put them under jail. Okay, it can't happen. There is a limit.
I want to come there and say, for example, I take your point. I want to give an example in the British context, because this is apparently a nation of free expression. Suppose the drummer Rigby's killers would have been said wrongly accused, and there would have been some demonstration, peaceful demonstration against the punishment granted to the killers of drummer Rigby. And similar things, till Britain, we defeat Britain, till we divide Britain, or destroy Britain. What do you think would be the reaction?
I find that example really weird because we're looking at hypothetical, but
Yes.
It is hypothetical to just put in the British context what that chant would mean, maybe, for some people.
I think there are a lot of people in Britain of British nationality, but also not British nationality, that speak out against Britain every day. I'm being one of them. You know, like I have lots of issues with Britain.
You're okay
British
with that kind
policy, but that's the freedom of expression and freedom of speech. There are limits to that. We have far-right groups that get to protest and march in this country every week. We have EDL, we have British First, who have really horrendous sentiments towards British nationals, towards a large minority of people who are British, and they march every week currently. There's Pegida, who just did a march the other day. We have like so many groups that are defined far right, that get a platform in this country that our legal system and our freedom of speech allows. I don't like it. I hate EDL, but they have under human rights, under freedom of speech, they have a space to say what they think, which is actually against me, a British national.
Can I say, in fact, there are these examples of extremist groups that go and picket, even when a soldier is killed in war in Iraq, for them, they'll go and picket that it was good, and that's allowed here. So let's not compare. Now, please keep in mind, something when we're talking of JNU, it's simply about, even when the slogan is about, for instance, that even if a nation, or the name of the nation is used to kill people, torture people, rape people, and if, for instance, if you criticize the Indian army for having done human rights abuse in Kashmir, they say, oh, you can't criticize because somehow anti-national, then I'm sorry, but the only ethical position can be to be anti-national. Do you really want to be part of a nation that brutalizes people, occupies people? I mean, I can't understand how any kind of nationality can take away ethics and we forget that democracy exists. In case of JNU, it's very simple. They were chanting slogans. If you have a problem with slogan, I have no problem with those slogans, to be honest, I agree with them. But if you have a problem with those slogans, go and investigate them. But did you see what media has done? Media has demonized particular individuals. Now, at this position, you could say, or we could say that, look, we don't agree with the slogan, let's investigate it, right? But we also oppose the way in which these individuals have been demonized. But the sad part is a number of middle-class Indians, not majority Indians, remember. A number of middle-class Indians, very comfortable in the name of nation. They're allowing for aspects of media, and they're allowing for the government to brutalize individual rights. But please keep in mind, they are coming after the communists now because they are communists, those who did this. Just keep that in mind. They have been coming after Muslims because they have Muslims in them. They'll come after you also, because the same group that is going against Kashmir and Azadi is the group that calls, and I'm talking Dr. Subramanian Swamy, who has openly talked of homosexuals suffering from genetic disorder, as people like me who are queer is suffering from genetic disorder. I'm very sorry, but when we allow these right-wing groups and right-wing organization ideologies to sort of speak in our name of the nation, we also partly then are complicit with all the things they're saying. So my only appeal is, let's be honest with each other. If we want Kashmir to be part of India, let's fine. Let's do something good for the Kashmiris. Let's provide them human rights. And let them choose that they should be part of it.
Let's quickly come to Kashmir, but quick reaction.
You've picked up a very good example of homosexuality. When we talk about the cause of homosexuality, entire Indian nation came together and spoke in one voice that we are pro-homosexuality. It should not be seen the way nobody supports Dr. Subramanian Swamy, and that's tolerance for you. That's not intolerance. But when somebody comes and says, India ko maar denge, India ko ye kar denge, India ko wo kar denge, that's where you are crossing that limit. With freedom comes duties. With freedom comes responsibilities.
Kids going over their 6 cubes a day max. Download the Sugar Smart app to help them cut down on sugar.
At Knorr, we believe that if you cook with a great stock, made with carefully selected ingredients, slowly simmered with a rich flavor, It'll taste so good, you may need a bigger table. No stock pots. Slowly simmered with a rich flavour.
Amazing offers on these caramel walking shoes, down to an incredible $17.99, only at...
Join Ranger Mickey Mouse and his friends on the safari adventure of a lifetime. Collect and play with your Disney characters and cute baby animals every week. Explore the great books together and discover more about your animals. Start collecting your safari playset with Mickey and Milo the Lion Cub today. Issue 1, $1.99.
At Luma, we say yes to someone every 6 minutes. So for a response in 60 seconds, go to luma.co.uk today.
Discover Werther's sugar-free, butter candies or chewy toffees. So smooth and creamy, you'll never know it's sugar-free.
Fly to India with Tickets to India. Book early and get amazing deals. Call now or book online on ticketstoindia.co.uk and bring India closer.
सबके सामने दिल को डर लगे जहाँ जाके दिल को पर लगे चलो ढूंढे ऐसा कोना चलो ढूंढे ऐसा कोना
जिंदगी भर हम एक ऐसी खास जगह ढूंढते हैं जिसे अपना कह सकें HDFC होम लोन्स अपनी जगह बनाओ
Energy price slashed. The uplifting drink to get you through the day. Bulldog Energy Drink with taurine. Available at leading wholesalers across the UK. Bulldog, the power to topple. Energy drink with taurine. Bulldog, sheer energy.
I'm sorry, mistakes are part of being young. I'm sorry, so sorry.
Wash away the stain, not the paint, with Dulux Endurance.
Okay, let me just quickly say about Kashmir. Kashmir, yes. There is a BJP-PDP government which has been elected. How do we say that, how do we justify an independent or any other...
See, when different political parties, be it NC, PDP, Congress and others, when they fight elections in Kashmir, you notice they never say this is about, they always acknowledge that there's an international dispute that would be resolved later. So elections are about that bijli sarak pani kind of thing, right? The problem with this, that when you're getting a vote, you ask for it on the basis of governance. But in India, that's presented as Kashmir being part of India, which is fine. I mean, if you think that Kashmiris really want to be part of India, majority of them, why not work towards, I'm not even saying conduct, why not work towards conducting a referendum? If you're that confident that Kashmir will belong to you because it's such a great democracy which is tolerant, then allow them that.
Okay, Dr. Kaul.
Referendum is no solution to Kashmir problem. It's a Jammu and Kashmir, as I said in my talk today, is a multicultural program. And there are a lot of stakeholders. There are Buddhists, there are Shias, there are Dogras, there are Mirpuris, there are Pandits. It cannot be decided by a referendum because we cannot trust if there are 60% people vote for Pakistan. Do you think Buddhists and Dogras will exist? They will not. They will be murdered. The only solution to Jammu and Kashmir problem is it should be existing at a super state. The line of control should disappear and people should be allowed to move from each other. Indian part should be administered by India and Pakistani part should be administered by Pakistan. But there should be freedom of movement of the Kashmiri people from one part to another. And make it as a super state, as a duty-free area, a financial center. It will work. It will work, provided all the stakeholders. Kashmir doesn't mean Kashmiri Muslims. It means Buddhists, everyone, Dogras, Dogra Muslims, Mirpuris, Punchis, Muzaffarabadis, Gilgitis, everyone, Baltistanis. It doesn't. The Kashmir problem has been hijacked by Kashmir Muslim problem. It is not a Kashmiri Muslim state. It's a state. Kashmir is 120 miles by 20 miles in 84,000 square miles. The biggest area is Ladakh. So it is not it is presented as a Kashmiri problem, basically as an Islamic. It is not an Islamic problem. It is a multicultural society, like Britain is.
We talk so much about minorities in India. A referendum would be a slap a tight slap in the face of all the minorities, all the minority communities in Kashmir.
No, but so we are assuming that Hindus are tolerant enough to have secularism, but somehow Muslims in Kashmir are not capable enough.
No, but the
Why
point,
not allow for
but
secular,
the point is
democratic,
they're going to
independent
the
Kashmir?
Pakistani part.
They were kicked out.
What happened to Kashmiri Muslims? So why not talk of both? What I'm saying, why not secular, work with secular, democratic, independent Jammu and Kashmir? No, independent Jammu and Kashmir.
Independent Jammu and Kashmir, how will you achieve that by referendum?
But
That
see,
is
it's
going
like-
to the majority democratic state,
How do you
most
know?
probably.
No,
How do you know?
well, can I just
So there
say?
are minorities in India.
No, but we are minorities
Any
in India, but
solution
we are a
has to,
secular state.
any solution to have, you don't have to bruise egos. By my solution, you don't bruise Indian ego, you don't bruise Pakistani ego, you don't bruise any ego. Everybody is a winner. That is, I'm a surgeon. We give treatment, but not bruising a person. We give a treatment which is the best solution. This is the best solution for everyone is a winner. You cannot have referendum because Indians won't like it. They will never give it over their dead bodies.
Apart from the whole, Farah, you do want to react to this?
I'm not from India-occupied Kashmir, but I kind of got a little bit of sense how it feels like to be from there when you guys were telling me how everything should be and what shouldn't happen in Kashmir. Just the Indian voices just overpowering the Kashmiri, trying to speak and not really having a voice. I think that's like the worst bit about all of this. It's always the Indians and the Pakistanis all saying what should happen, what should happen, what can happen, why. But the Kashmiri's voice is never heard, and I think that's like the crux of it. They need to be at the front and centre of any solution. That's the way forward. And have you ever been to Kashmir?
That's exactly.
You continue to tell me, I think I've heard you say 3 times in the course of today that it's an integral part of India. Have you ever been to Kashmir?
I know it's an integral
I think
part
it's a yes
of
or
India
no
because,
answer.
because,
Have you been to Kashmir?
Just me not being. India is a huge country, but the point is,
But yeah,
me
you're
not
still
going
it's an
to.
integral part of Kashmir.
Oh my
India.
God! Okay, have you been
to Kashmir?
Okay, have you been to have you been to Northern Islands?
I haven't, but I
how
neither
do these
claim that I
British
have
people
any
know
claim
that?
on Northern Ireland.
How do they know
So
that it's an
I
integral part of Britain? That's a ridiculous. I've been to ridiculous. That's
I have never claimed that Northern Ireland is
I've been to
You
Kashmir.
can't claim me this.
That's
No,
a
no,
ridiculous.
can I just say?
Can I just?
You're not there. I've been to Kashmir. It doesn't prove anything. That's
she's
neither
been
here
to
nor there.
Okay,
I've been to
what
Kashmir.
point
So
does it
what?
make?
Can I just bring
all
this-
I'm saying is that there are 10 groups in Kashmir, as Dr. Sir Vivek pointed out, and you have to, if you have to have Kashmiris on the table, you need to have all those 10 people from groups from Kashmir on the
Even
table.
those Kashmiris
all
who were
those
chucked
10.
out of their own
Exactly.
state, even
There-
those Kashmiris.
I know one Kashmiri
Can I just say, see how much?
is an illusion.
Can I just, yes, there's so much emotion when it comes to Kashmir, and no wonder what has happened because of in JNU is taking all the limelight. And I am very, very happy to see this conversation. But when we talk of referendum, there were 2 conditions to the referendum. Number 1, that Pakistan should take back its troops and tribal people, and then India would create an environment under which plebiscite could be held. They say the first condition was never carried out, therefore the second never. So how do we put the blame
On India only. No,
also? How then can a vote be held?
In fact, let me be very clear. I'm not saying that only India is the guilty party. It's very clear that both Pakistan and India have worked together in United Nations. You know, in 1948, there was a potential resolution where both of them worked together to remove the 3rd option of independence. So that is the problem. Both the countries are colonizers. In that context, they're both occupying. So the solution would be for both countries and Kashmir to work together and say, okay, this is what you had promised. How? Let's forget, maybe it takes 50 years, but for Pakistan should withdraw if they follow UN resolution, but India also has to say that if Pakistan withdraws, then we will allow it. The problem is India claims to Indians that Kashmir is an integral part. It's like domestic abuse in marriage, that, well, I love you, so you have to be with me even if you don't like to be with me. I'm very sorry, but that's the kind of nationalism we have been talking about. That's one. The second is bring justice for human rights abuses. That should be part and parcel of Indian constitution, and I'm sure you all agree. So let's do that. Let's punish soldiers who have been involved. Let's punish politicians who have been involved. Let's punish even, I'm sure, the militants who are caught who have been involved in Kashmiri Pandit massacre. Let's punish all of it.
Welcome to the Museum of Procrastination. Follow me, please. The gym membership section. The memberships that were used only once. The unfinished novels. What a waste of talent. Musical instruments that have only played Frere Jacques. Millions of ideas, eureka moments. Some could revolutionize the way we live our lives.
At HSBC, we can help you start to achieve your ambitions today.
We will be right here when you get back.
Love you.
Welcome to London, Mr. President.
Get down!
London, we're bringing the war to you.
An attack has decimated the British capital.
What do you want? Vengeance.
Well, they should have brought more men.
Stay with me. We'll get you out of here.
Stay alive.
London has fallen.
Voucher. Get a wow a day at voucher.co.uk.
I'm here with these thermal goggles to show you how much heat these old double glazed windows lose compared to Everest triple glazing. Look where they're leaking all their heat from. And Everest triple glazing keeps it inside where it belongs. That's because their 5-chamber profile and extra pane of glass help make them Everest's warmest window ever. And they come with an amazing up to 50% off. Fit the best, fit Everest.
Fly to India with Tickets to India. Book early and get amazing deals. Call now or book online on ticketstoindia.co.uk and bring India closer.
Have you suffered from an injury as the result of a road traffic accident, medical or dental negligence? Then call Clearwater Solicitors. They will help you to get 100% compensation, no deductions. Clearwater Solicitors.
इतनी फीस दी, लेकिन कॉलेज बंद हो गया, वीजा भी एक्सपायर हो रहा है, कहाँ जाऊँ?
मलिक लॉ चेम्बर्स।
बिजनेस अपॉर्चुनिटीज तो बहुत है यहाँ, लेकिन बिजनेस वीजा एक बहुत ही बड़ा मसला। कहाँ जाऊँ इस मसले के हल के लिए?
मलिक लॉ चेम्बर्स। 10 साल हो गए, बच्चे भी बड़े हो गए, वीजा नहीं मिला। अल्लाह, जाऊँ तो कहाँ जाऊँ?
Immediately contact UK's leading immigration law firm, Malik Law Chambers Solicitors.
Some things just don't like to be washed. It's scared that loose dye might discolour it. But don't worry. Dr. Beckman's new microfiber colour and dirt collector has finer fibres that absorb more loose colours to help prevent colour runs. Dr. Beckman new microfiber colour and dirt collector helps keep colours looking brighter for longer.
Okay, I will quickly end with 2 questions. Number 1 on JNU. Where do you stand in terms of the way forward?
For me, the way forward in terms of JNU, very quickly, that simple thing is that government should withdraw all the charges. The media that has been calling Umar Khalid particularly terrorists and sympathizers of Pakistan without any basis should apologize, because without that it's basically a sacrilege what they have done. They should do that. And third, they should acknowledge the mistakes they have done.
Okay, I want to reframe this, otherwise we'll have a long answer from everybody. That the slogans in JNU were anti-national, or it's about freedom of expression?
It was freedom of expression, and they were genuine.
And you agree?
Yes.
Anti-national. They were totally anti-national, and that's where they crossed the line. Till they were freedom of expression, it was fine, but that was the line which they crossed, and which was why charges were brought in.
I would have been very happy had they actually, protested for human rights, bringing restoration in Kashmir, rather than, going by anti-national slogans. I think it's absolutely anti-nationalistic to go about saying those slogans for sure.
Freedom of expression. Anti-national, and they were testing the resolve of Indian government. Their handlers, these kind of students, they always have their handlers. They were trying to test the resolve of Indian government. What would they do? They have done the right thing, shown the resolve.
Where does freedom of thought end, freedom of speech end, and anti-national behavior begins? What is the line? Possibly very thin, and that's where the debate lies at this point in time. Should law take its course, or should Kanhaiya be released? There are lots of questions that the JNU debate has given rise to. There are lots of debates which are coming from this debate. Very healthy environment indeed. There should be debates, and we should be talking about issues that are neither right nor wrong. But one thing is clear. Politicians of education should not happen at any cost. JNU or any other institution should not be made the playground for politicians. Education is one thing that will take India forward. We must remember that. That's all in Chai Chat for this week. When we meet next time, we meet to talk about the budget, which is just around the corner. So some interesting stuff about budget, brand India and all of that. So please keep watching Chai Chat and keep writing to me on chaichat@ashtak.com or tweet me at Lavina Tandon. See you next week. Thank you and goodbye.